This is Kelly.
And this is Amy.
And you're listening to Diary of a Death Investigator. We just got done recording part 1 of our spooky season episode. This is going to be part 2, just not another chainsaw movie. We're recording these back to back. We're in person. So hopefully it's...
She's staying at Hotel de la Amy.
I am. I'm excited about this one. So part 1 was about the Candyman. So if you didn't listen to part 1, go back and listen to part 1 so you can hear and understand part 2. So the whole premise of these episodes were, originally we thought that the Chainsaw Massacre movies were based on, well, they are loosely based on.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fictional story, but they're based on 2 guys. So we gave you who the first guy was, the inspo of...
I think it's loosely inspired. Some people say that the Candyman didn't necessarily make it, but they will say that Leatherface was definitely...
Oh, you see more ties to him for sure.
Yeah. Amy and I listened to an episode about Ed Gein, who is also Leatherface, on our way back on our long drive.
While we were moving. Me.
Yeah. And that was the first time I've ever heard of him. Now, he's everywhere. We were just talking about him being in the Fort Nightmares season.
It's probably on your Instagram, on your Facebook, on your TikTok, because your phone's listening, so...
But I also think that he's going to be really popular because he's going to be part of that Netflix monster series.
Oh, yeah. I've been watching the Menendez brothers, and it's like, how would I put it? It makes my stomach, like, twist, and it's like, that doesn't happen very easy. Like, they had a pretty messed up life prior to the actual crime, so they get it in real deep.
Yeah, so. I don't know that I'll watch that one. So I think that he's become popular, or maybe more, Ed Gein has become more popular. I was really curious about all these things, so I'm going to let Amy talk about him, but I have lots of questions because there's some things like I just didn't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Chainsaw Massacres, that's not like the first movie that was like based upon him. So like Psycho, that's like based on him too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we have Psycho, Silence of the Lambs, and then the Chainsaw Massacre. So, of course, Chainsaw Massacre was before Silence of the Lambs, but...
What do they call those people when they're, like, really popular, but, like, nobody knows who they are? It's like the actors they talk about, like, you know their face, but you never know who they are.
I was like, a nobody? I don't know. I mean, because the more you go in depth with him, like, the more you're like, oh, yeah, I definitely see that in that character. Like, why he was, like, portrayed this way. I'm like, yeah, that's a fit. So, the missing puzzle piece.
So now you'll know.
If you don't know, then now you know. Which, if you're not familiar with those movies, so Psycho is based upon the son being creepily obsessed with his mommy. Like, he calls her mother. Yeah. And so, yeah, it's the old black and white, where people see the famous shower scene where there's like a knife and it's like,
I have to be honest with you. I have not seen that movie, but Universal Studios is one of my favorite places to go. And so I do the backlot tour.
Yeah, right? Where it's like you drive by and he's out there with the knife.
Well, yeah, but like also that was the house I think that they shot.
Yeah. That's a classic. I think everyone knows Psycho.
Well, Hitchcock, right?
Hitchcock, I think, yeah. Pretty sure he was the one.
Also, fun fact, if you guys didn't notice, that's part of inspiration, like isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Of our theme music.
Yes, that was important. We watched a lot of those movies growing up. Which I'm always like, Mommy, you wonder why I'm such a creep? I turned out so weird. Well, this is why. So we've obviously been talking about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but Silence of the Lambs was based on him what do we know about that? Is he put the lotion in the basket, like lotioning the skin.
I haven't watched that one either.
Oh, that one's so good. The acting in it is great. So course, I think it's Anthony Hopkins is the creep. And so he likes to eat organs of people. And there's another character where lotion in the basket. He like puts people down in the hole and like puts lotion in the basket and lowers it down and tells them to basically keep their skin moist because he is making stuff out of their skin. So yeah, this is inspired by a true story. So Ed Gein, the reason why they even discovered this guy essentially was because they were looking for this woman who was missing in November of 1957. So they know that actually she was working at the store at this time, and Gein was basically her last customer of that day, and he was buying antifreeze. So yeah, they went looking for this woman, and apparently when they went to his house, they actually found her, and she was decapitated and hung upside down by her ankles because he was bleeding her out like a
animal.
Yeah, which is something that you do actually see. And I know for sure the newer Texas Chain Saw Massacre, they like hooked people. So that was kind of something I could say is like a callback to that.
But he didn't kill her that way. He shot her in the head first, right?
I think so. But yeah, he still cut off her head.
No, I mean, yeah, but there's a difference between killing somebody.
I mean, doesn't mean she was dead before.
That's true.
I don't know. I don't have the autopsy report for her, but you can definitely tell if someone's dead before that happens because of the bleeding through the capillaries in the neck. So you'd actually be able to tell the difference.
Oh, I was hoping. I hope she was, because that would be pretty horrendous.
Well, life is not sunshines and daisies, so I don't know what you want me to tell you. I don't have a clear answer. So anyways, our friend Ed here, when they actually found this woman, they're like, wow, there's a lot of weird stuff in this house. During their just general look about, they found skulls, human organs, furniture made of humans. So for example, a lampshade of faces and chairs that were upholstered with skin. And so ultimately his goal was to create like a mommy suit. So he wanted to make a skin suit so he could look like his mom or like be like his mom. And they said when they were going through the house,
was it be like his mom or like bring his mom back to life?
In a way, yeah, because that's kind of like in Psycho. Like what he does is like he dresses up like his mom and then he talks in like a woman voice. So,
well, if you haven't seen Psycho, now you know what it's about.
Yeah, there you go. You're welcome. Or I just ruined it for you. So, yeah, they said that it was because he was basically trying to like wear his mom kind of thing. So, yeah, it was like he got weird after his mom died. Like it wasn't while she was alive. So they said that like he tried to actually preserve like certain rooms of the house. So like her bedroom and like other rooms, like he like boarded them up and like kept them pristine, like in the way that they were when she died. But like the rest of the place was disgusting. So they said that what Ed was really into was like Nazi experiments. And so I think he was inspired to cut people up in certain ways and basically like why you would see someone hanging upside down from their ankles. It's just not, I wasn't saying not normal, but
Killing's not normal.
Killing's not normal, but in such a way, not like in rage of just shooting someone in the moment, I guess. It's kind of like a well thought out fetish of his or something. So yeah, things that they found when they were going through his house. I mean, there was like skulls impaled on bedposts. He actually made people's skulls into bowls and utensils. I couldn't imagine eating out of that.
Okay. So now I have some questions that you might be able to answer. If it's a bowl and bones are calcium, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how would that hold up against heat and stuff? I guess.
I doubt that he was heating stuff inside his quote unquote bowl. The human skull is very, very thick. But what I think he was probably doing was like heating stuff up on a stove and like metal and then putting it into.
But it's still durable in that kind of heat.
Oh,
I would think over time it would just start like.
It is going to deteriorate. I mean, especially if you're like, if you ever cleaned them. I don't know. He wasn't using Clorox
Wouldn't it be like porous? Like, wouldn't things like get...
Bones are porous, yes. So it could get stained really easily. I mean, if you're just heating stuff up, like on a stove, that's not going to reach a temperature. Because think about, like, when people are burned up in fires, a lot of times they're charred, but their bones still remain. It's the same thing when people are cremated. It takes hours and hours and hours to cremate someone down, and their bones are never fully
Amy actually
down.
Really hates the idea of cremation.
I do. It won't ever happen to me. And if it does, I'll come back and haunt every single person who agreed to it. So no sage will sage me away.
But you said it's because you don't like what they do after. You don't like how they like...
The whole process is not ideal. And I don't want necessarily anyone that I care about to have that done. It's just like dying of fire is one of the worst ways to go. That or drowning. And just the thought of, knock on wood, hopefully living my entire life not burning up, and that's how you're going to do me. Like, no. And it's extreme heat. And then when they're done, it's like they just sweep out the remains, and then whatever's not like fully like burned down to ash, they have to crush up. Like, it's just...
What about like if you have gold or something in your teeth?
It's the same thing. They'll either pick it out and give it to the family, or they'll just put it in with their ashes. Yeah. Why do you think urns are so big?
Decoration.
No. That's actually quite a bit of ash.
Oh.
Yeah. So, anyways, did you have any other questions off of that?
What if they have a prosthetic?
Prosthetics aren't put... Well, a lot of times they have to take out certain things. Prosthetics, the same thing. They'll just take them out, obviously, like after they burn. And that's like if it's like a metal prosthetic, because now you have metal prosthetics for like hip ball joints. And so that will just like be removed afterwards. And I'm not sure if in some instances they'll like give them back to like the hospital or something to like use. Because I mean, medical grade metal is expensive. I don't know. Some people want to keep that stuff. It's kind of up to the decision of the next of kin to decide what they want to do with it. I do know you have to remove pacemakers out of people before they go in because it'll blow up. So they have to remove those.
Do you have that on like your license or some sort of card, or they just know when they cut you up?
No, you can usually still kind of like hear it because it still goes. Even when you die, it's not like... Sometimes they'll beep. They take a magnet and they'll magnetize it too, so it'll like turn it off. Because you have to do that before you put them through like x-rays and stuff like that.
Huh.
So, yeah. And it's really interesting to see. I actually saw an autopsy done once of like a faulty pacemaker on a heart. And I was actually watching my chief, and it was so interesting because he was very detailed and he explained a lot to me. But when they put pacemakers in, basically the pacemaker is attached to your heart with these little teeny tiny screws. So if you have a screw or something that causes an injury, it can create a blood clot in your heart.
You have a screw loose.
Funny, not. That's like the second bad joke you've made, and like I can't even try. So yeah, so sometimes they have to remove things first. Sometimes it burns down, and then it's up to the family what they want to have happen. I know, like I said, like certain medical grade things can be returned to the like manufacturer of that thing or the hospital. So we were talking about things that he made. He had a wastebasket made of skin. He had made leggings of human skin, masks made from faces. So that's where you get Leatherface. One of my personal faves here is a belt made from nipples. So,
actually, that's not that weird. I mean, it's weird.
I think it's totally weird.
No, it's weird, but think of like the belts you see now, like the ones that have the quartz like designs on them or whatever, like the knobs on them.
He's ahead of his time. Technically, I have a cowhide belt and it has the hair on it. So,
wait till we ask about that question. Hold on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He had a pair of lips that were used as a window shade drawstring. He also had a corset made from a female torso. So just some extra little funsies that he had in his house. He would keep fingernails, and he had 4 different noses.
Like real like the full length fingernails or the clippings? Like that?
Fingernails. I think he pulled them out.
Ew.
Yeah. He kept genitals of 9 different women. I think when we listened to that other podcast, they said they were like in a box. So gross. So what they found out was that
and he had like something on a frying pan, right? I think when they found him and got in, because he tried to say he wasn't a cannibal.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he had stuff in his freezer too of like female
I think he had like a heart or something on the stove, which to me then must have been that.
Yeah, why are you cooking it? What do you need to cook it for?
Right, and it would have been that Mary chick, or what was her? Was her name Mary? She was the one in the very.
His name's Bernice.
The first one?
No, this was the last one that made them actually show up to.
Oh, okay, maybe it was Bernice then. So
Mary.
Wasn't it? I think there's 2. Yeah. Because they called him a serial killer, but I think he was a serial. You've said that serial killers are just have to kill more than once.
Yes, with a rest period in between. So that's what's considered a serial killer. Technically, he is a serial killer because he's killed more than one person with a time lapse in between.
But he was really a grave robber is what he was.
Yeah, I mean, that's essentially like what he liked to do. But they said there was other women that they knew were missing, but they could never like attach that crime to him.
Well, yeah, when he's like pulling their bodies apart. But I'm just saying, like, the last chick, it had to have been her heart, because you talk about like with organs and stuff. I mean, those people are, he's not pulling their bodies out, right? Like the organs are gone.
Oh no. And I'll talk about that too. So basically what happens to the organs, you wouldn't want to eat that. Ugh. Yeah. So we were just saying he admitted to actually killing 2 different women, but they said that he probably robbed around 40 different graves. So different, because they could identify that there were 40 different women.
Like how many grave sites were he's from Wisconsin, right?
It says he went to 3 different graveyards. I mean, you would think at this point they would have like a night guard on duty or something.
Maybe a night guard was in on it.
It could be that it was someone who was freshly like buried. So like the dirt was fresh on top. So it didn't look odd when he like buried it back on top. It didn't necessarily...
Unless he knew the people that were being buried, because I'm thinking small town.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can look in an obituary and see, like, this person's funeral is on this day. So, yeah, I'm like, yes, I want that one.
Yeah, but in 1950...
You don't think obituaries were around in 1950?
I mean, maybe.
I don't think that's a new thing.
No, I don't think it's... Well, it's not really... I don't even know if it's a thing anymore anyway.
I mean, also, you can drive by the local cemetery and see... Oh, there's a bunch of people there. There must be a... And then, yeah, you could look at... There's all kinds of ways you can look up to see when people die.
I mean, that's a full-time job, though, if he's been doing that.
What other kind of life did he have? He was...
I think he was like a carpenter and stuff, which is why... I think he is... Or a handyman, which is why...
Handyman by day, different kind of handyman by night.
Yo.
Yeah, so Kelly was asking me, how would you preserve humans? Which I kind of felt shameful looking these things up on my computer. I'm not going to lie.
Okay, but here's what I'll say. I started asking Amy because I was like thinking of him. And I was like, how could somebody make a mask? Because think about it. You think about skin and stuff. It dries out and all this stuff. And I was like, how could you make a face out of all these things, right? It's got to be pliable. It's got to be able to have some give to it. So I happened to look at a leather couch and I said, Amy, could you make...
My leather couch.
Could you make... seriously, though, could you make... Like, what's leather? I mean, right?
It's
like
skin.
It's skin because I was like, okay, we have cowhide, right? But, like, it's just skin.
I mean, technically your skin's a living organ... But, you know, like it needs to be hydrated like everything else. Like your body needs water. Your skin's your largest organ. But yeah, it's how you get leather clothing too. So I looked up all the ways that you can do this or some ways. And I was like, I feel so weird reading this.
So you're welcome. I'm asking the questions that everybody wants to know.
Yeah. So you can do tanned human skin. So this is basically... where you will just slap a bunch of salt on the skin for 24 hours. And you have to make sure, though, that you stretch the skin first and tack it down. Or It doesn't necessarily have to be tacked down. It has to be pulled taut. So after that 24 hours, you'll shake off that salt and then you have to resalt it. So
with new salt?
With new salt. So I'm not sure if that draws out all the extra moisture so that it doesn't get moldy and mildewy. Because like, you know, or they say like cow hides and stuff like that, you're not supposed to get them wet because once they're wet and they have that moisture added to them, they'll just literally disintegrate. They'll just fall apart in pieces.
Unless it's treated.
No, it doesn't matter.
Oh, still?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if it's not kept in a good condition, that's what will happen to it. So as it's aged, yeah, it can happen. But like leather conditioner is not necessarily something that is like a water-based thing. It's usually an oil-based. Yeah, Kelly's face right now is
I'm just thinking like, it's very weird that we are accepting of one skin and not another. Like, I'm not saying that we should be accepting of another skin, but it's just weird that.
Because we eat those things.
I know. And mom and dad have a rawhide skin.
I used to too.
Yeah.
I mean, love them. They smell great.
But see, that's what I want to know. Okay, so that's what I want to know then. So
and you wonder why I can't eat prime rib because it smells like humans when it's cooked.
Okay, but like, is this skin then? Like, this skin would smell, right?
I don't know, Kelly. I've never smelled people's skin.
Yes, you have, but you just haven't smelled rawhide.
Not treated.
All right.
It smells like burn up barbecue.
Ew.
But you asked. Okay, anyways. So this was interesting. I'm pretty sure these were like the people we first mentioned, like the cannibal friends. I don't know. They're freaks. And the fact that they put their pictures on this site with all this information, I'm like,
oh, wait, what? They have like, this is real people?
Yeah. They say, quote, that it's for animals, but I'm like, I don't know. You know too many ways to do this because, wait, you'll see why. Okay, so this one's not super weird. This is called bark tanning. So you'll actually attach your leather piece or your skin piece to a tree. And basically what it is, it's what they call the tannic acid that comes out of the tree. And so it's like the ooze or the tea from the bark that helps like preserve the hide. So it's like adding the moisture back into that leather so it doesn't like get crusty and folded up. Yeah. So there again, it's an acid. It's not like it's like a water solvent kind of thing. Okay. This one was super interesting. It's called brain tanning. Brain, like your brain. Like zombies would love this. Nom, nom, nom. Okay, so what they do is apparently after they kill the, quote, animal, they take the brain out of it, they cook the brain, and then they rub the brain onto the hide. So it's better if it's hot because the heat will help remove the hair because your brain has fat in it.
Well, yeah, but I'm thinking that's a lot of work.
Yeah, and that stinks. And the brain shrinks when it's heated, I can tell you.
Well, I think there's like, isn't there like delicacies where people eat brain?
Veal.
Cow brain?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want to talk about that anymore. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it either. Okay, so this one is a lard and flour. Again, lard is typically a fat, right? And it's like an oily kind of thing. So you'll apply the lard and then you'll coat it in flour.
It's like baking.
Yeah, you'll shake and bake. You could probably put it in a big old zippy.
Yeah.
So the hide is then rolled up. So you roll it up nice and tight so that the blood is drawn out. So
ew.
The flour absorbs the blood.
I didn't even think about any blood being a part of any of this.
What?
I wasn't thinking.
Kelly.
I wasn't thinking.
Okay. Whatever.
I was just thinking of what a couch, the aftermath. I wasn't thinking of all the stuff that goes on with it.
Well, there's some other ways. This one is not so bad. Mayo and raw eggs. I'm sure because of the proteins in eggs that adds protein back to the skin, and mayo because it's kind of that greasy texture.
Also fat.
Yeah. Some other things that
mayo is made out of eggs.
Yeah, but it's a different consistency. And then if you whip it together, it makes it a more whipped-like substance. So, okay. This way, alcohol and turpentine, which they don't recommend because alcohol will dry it out.
Right.
Yeah, it's like our skincare. Yeah. This one was weird, aluminum and chrome. And they said that this is probably used for things like biker jackets that are shiny because the metal adds that shine to it when it's heated.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, so...
How do you think people... Well, never mind.
I don't want to know because people used to be very... They did not have empathy. They did not care if they tortured people to kill them. So I'm sure they got real creative and were like, oh, this will be handy later. Like, look at what the ancient Romans did. They were crazy. Okay, so you then also were asking, goes on to the thing with blood and organs. And, he wouldn't be eating organs out of bodies
that goes back to cannibalism and
that are embalmed. Yeah. So first, I will say, when autopsies are conducted, we take out all the organs and then you put them into a bag, and then you basically just put that bag into someone's body cavity, so like their torso, and then you just stitch it up. And then the funeral home basically keeps that in there, and it's just sewed up. But okay, so embalming, so that we know what happens during this process. Okay, so for humans, the brain will remain intact if they don't have like an autopsy done. So the brain is still in there. So what happens is blood is replaced with formaldehyde-based chemical solutions through your arteries. So typically what you see is like they make these cuts in the neck for your major arteries, and that's where they put the big tubes in. And Kelly's face is great. So what happens during this process is your organs and your cavities are drained from blood, and then basically the formaldehyde substance is just put back in. So embalming allows a body to stay preserved at least a week after viewings. But there again, it kind of depends on like the setting that they're kept in. So if they're in a cooler, and then like after the fact, once they're buried, if they're in like a nicely sealed coffin, it can preserve them well, as long as there's like not water damage or something like that. You just don't want the oxygen like getting to the skin because that's just going to speed up the decay. Okay, so something that I learned that they used to do in the Middle Ages, they called it excarnation. This was done by the Europeans. They would remove all the skin, muscle, and organs and only keep the bones to transport them. And that was done for like nobility. So if they're buried in like a church or something, it's like their bones.
But nothing else.
Yeah, they take so it preserves it. So, but we know like the Egyptians
what do you
actually
mean it preserves it.
Preserves the bones better.
So what happens to your bones when you are in? So are these caskets that people are buried in? Are they empty?
No.
Okay, what happens to the bones then?
The bones stay in there.
I know, but you're saying this preserves the bones, so I'm asking about like now.
So they will like treat the bones with something to keep them preserved.
Do your bones not get preserved? Do they like?
Well, it's calcium.
But
calcium
will it eventually like disintegrate or like?
Yeah, but it takes a really long time.
So like I'm saying, if a casket's been sitting there for a really long time, what's left in it?
Well, you could have like some
the plastic bag that the organs were in.
Yeah. No, you'd have probably like some skin and bones. I mean, think of like the Egyptian mummies. It's the same
thing.
They
wrap them.
Well, they're not wrapped, but technically wrapped in a coffin. All right, so there's
all the things I got to think about one day.
This is what she's going to fall asleep to tonight. They have this thing, it's called the dry method. It's scraping the skin to remove connecting tissue, then stretching to dry. So basically that's like what you're seeing whenever we do autopsies, like specifically of like the brain. So what they'll do is they make a cut over the top of the head from like ear to ear. So it goes to like your hairline. So whenever you are put back together for a viewing, they don't want to see that big cut. So it's not like a Frankenstein cut across the head, right? So you have this connective tissue that keeps your skin or your face connected to your skull. So this connective tissue is called your superficial fascia. So fascia is the connecting stuff. There's these like little fibers. Sometimes like if you go to get like your back worked on or something, they'll say like, oh, we're going to break up this fascia. That's why you're so tight, is because this fascia is really tight to your muscles. So this is a fibrofatty layer that connects to the epicranial. I'm going to try to pronounce this, aponeurosis. And so this is the thin skin layer that attaches to your muscle. And then it is then connected to the occipitofrontalis muscle. So basically everything on the front of your face and stuff, like that's all together as one unit that's working together. That's all connected. So it's like your skin to the fascia, to the muscle, and then attached to the skull. So this occipitofrontalis is the muscle that covers your scalp and connects your forehead to the back of your head. So it's all like one unit. So this specific type of layering, it's going to give room for like your blood vessels and your nerves, and it like insulates your skull. So it's not, overheating or whatever. Yeah. So you have this tightly bound 3 layers of your scalp that will move as one unit. Obviously, whenever you raise your eyebrows, like everything on your face like raises up, right?
Let me try.
Okay, well, people who don't have Botox, your scalp does have 5 layers of skin. So you have your skin, then you have your dense connective tissue, and then you have your epicranial, aporosis. All these words are hard to say. And then you have like your loose connective tissue, and then your peritoneum. So basically,
I'm just trying to decide if I want to be cremated or buried now.
Well, if you die really young of something that we don't know, you're going to get one of these autopsies. So basically when they're making that cut and then like we're peeling your face down so we can reveal the skull cap. And how they do that is they take a little tiny knife and then they cut away like the fascia, that connective tissue between your skin and your skull. So that's how he's able to like take these faces off of people. So it said he did use a knife. It didn't give me a specific type of knife.
I just think that's something that you'd have to know how to do. So he definitely...
Or he practiced. I don't know.
40, if he dug up 40.
Yeah, he could have even found like medical books or something that told him how to do autopsies or something. Who knows? Not now you do. So for your embalming, for future reference, they're going to drain your blood and they remove this during, like I said, a small incision. So typically what you see is like in the neck because you have like your carotid and your jugular there. And then afterwards, they're going to inject that fluid. So it's that formaldehyde type solution. It's injected into your arteries. So they are going to remove your cavity fluids. So this is done, like I said, they put this thing in your neck. It's a long hollow needle called a trocar, and it's used to remove fluids from cavities. And this is normally like a long metal looking piece of...
Does it make you heavy?
Formaldehyde?
Yeah.
Well, if you're drying out all the fluids out of your body, think
just
about
swapping it?
Well, not necessarily, because think about all your organs and stuff that are...
So I'm going to weigh less? That's the only way I'm going to lose weight?
I guess. There again, I'm not a mortician, so...
Well, we should find one.
I know one. I know a few.
All right. We'll work on it, guys.
Okay. So, like I said, they replace your fluids. So instead it's just preservation fluids instead of like blood and water and all these fun other things that you have pumping through your body. Your final prep, the eyes are closed and then they'll put eye caps in there.
What's an eye cap?
It goes like up underneath the eyelids. So like your eyes aren't open and like you're staring.
Oh.
Yeah.
But do they leave your eyeballs?
Your eyes deflate.
Oh, they do?
You have fluid in your eyes. I've told you this. I told in a long text when you were asking me.
You did, yes.
Yes. So you have vitreous humor, which is in your eyeballs. So your eyes are going to deflate. So if you're looking at someone when they're dead and they're like, their eyes look sunken in, it's like, well, their fluid is taken out. So that's why you need eye caps. It helps give that shape back to the eyeballs before they're shut forever. So the mouth is also sewn shut. A lot of times they will stuff like cotton into the cheeks and that makes the mouth look fuller. So it's not like sunken in. And of course, your cosmetics are applied and clothing, and they do their hair, that kind of stuff. One thing I didn't think about, and I should have, they do like massaging of the body to relax the muscles and joints that are tense from rigor mortis. So, I mean, technically, so you're not like sitting in an awkward, stiff position. So,
if you're already tense up when you die, do you become even more tense?
that's probably you, Kelly. If that's what you're asking, that is you. So, for him to have these things, it's like, no, they're not in the best pristine condition, but maybe that's why he started actually killing living women so that he could basically do what he wanted.
Get the parts that he needed.
Yeah, and preserve it in his own way. So living skin is a lot more pliable than dead skin.
Right, which is why I asked the questions in the first place.
Well, do you know? Do you have all your answers?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I have the answers, but I just feel like everyone's going to be talking about his story, so people will get like more in depth.
They're going to do like the creepy stuff, though. It's not going to be like, I mean, we don't know the why, of course, but how he could do these things?
Well, I think, yeah, it was how he could actually do them, because that's what I wanted to know, because everyone's going to talk about his life and his story and stuff, but not how you can physically manipulate a body to make a lampshade.
So I'm sure instead of just taking the skin off, like at the cemetery, it probably was much easier for him to actually remove the whole body part as a whole and then take it back, which he would have still had to have known some anatomy, because you can't just cut through straight long bones. That's really hard, or you'd have to have a very sharp tool. Typically what you would do then instead would be to cut the limb off at a joint, so you're just cutting away the connective tissue.
So did they do formaldehyde back then on bodies? We don't know.
I'm sure it was a form of formalin. I think it was formalin, and it's changed a little bit now because it's not very good for you.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. If he was cutting into these bodies and they had already had stuff put in them, wouldn't that have like, he would have known that too. He would have known how to work with that because he would have been exposed to it. And like our multi-purpose cleaner episode, he could have, I don't know if it's like a gas.
I mean, he could have poisoned himself. I mean, because think of all the other gases that are being trapped inside of a coffin as someone's decaying.
Well, I'd rather not think about that. But here's our spooky. So second spooky, but not so spooky. I guess spooky, educational spooky.
Gross.
Yeah.
Spooky.
Yeah.
I don't know. We have other things, though, that we're going to be talking about. Maybe a little more creepy.
We are, and we will probably be doing that. Amy set us up for a Patreon page that we're going to work on. And we might do a filmed
live where you get to see our bright and shining faces.
Well, I don't know if it'll be live, but because we'll be heading
not live, but we look like we're live. Burning sage.
And we're going to be doing that before we take off for a crime cruise. So crime cruise is the first week in November. We're super excited about it. If you guys have any questions for us, or if you're going on the crime cruise, message us. You can email us at kelly@diaryofadeathinvestigator.com, or you can message us on our Instagram page. And until next time,
bye.